Well, hello and welcome to our New Year's special show. And of course, we try to look back on what's happened during 2023. If we were going to do a complete review of it, I think we'd probably have a 4-hour show on our hands, but we're not going to do that. But I'm joined today by Matt Smith, who's going to take us through what's happened so far. How are you, Matt?
Yes, not too bad, thank you, Nev. Not too bad at all. How was Christmas?
Very good, actually. Yes, a bit of a trip up to York and very nice stay at the Hilton there, where we had some very nice Christmas lunch. Very pleasant indeed it was. And yeah, it's been a general week and a bit of excess food and stuff, as you can imagine.
I don't know how you're coping, really. Soldiering on, are you?
Yes, exactly. But we did a lot, didn't we, during 2023? A heck of a lot.
We did, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was nice, I think, because it's really, for me, I don't know how you feel, Nev, but for me, it felt like the first year where we could sort of put like COVID behind us and sort of get back out there and doing, attending air shows and things like that. We didn't do as much as we wanted to, but big plans afoot for next year already to sort of try and put some of that right. But we did do some pretty cool stuff this year.
Yeah, and I think it's been the people that we've been able to interview at the air shows, which have been great, the viewers and listeners that have come along to them as well, which has been amazing, and also the continued fantastic feedback that we get from the viewers and listeners. And we were just looking at where we are in the aviation podcast ratings the other day as well. It looks like we're still at number 5.
Yes, we do. Aren't we? We're very proud of the numbers, aren't we?
Now, there are more than 5 aviation podcasts in the world, I can tell you. In fact, there's more than 220, in fact, worldwide. So to be number 5 out of 220 worldwide is pretty good going, I would say. So I'd like to thank everybody for their contributions, their good wishes, and the emails that we've had during Christmas as well, to thank us for the efforts that we've all put in. And of course, it's a very much a team effort. Everybody puts so much into it. And of course, John and Nick on the production side, the unsung heroes behind the scenes, really, they do so much. So we'd like to thank them very much also.
Indeed. Actually, while we're doing thank yous, shall we hear from the main man? He's going to give us some of the. He's not here, obviously. He's busy on a beach somewhere in Gran Canaria. It's all right for some, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's hear what the big man's got to say for himself.
Well, hello, Carlos here, and it's been a busy 2023, that's for sure. And I'm going to first say a big thanks to my amazing team, Nev, Matt, Armando, John and Nick as well. Thank you to all of you guys for your hard work on the show. Matt, you are a tech legend in the studio. Nev, you are a cameraman genius. And Armando, well, Armando is Armando at the end of the day. He is our legendary pilot of all things with wings. Big thanks as well to John for all his hard work in the background, and also Nick as well for all his hard work doing the show prep every week for us guys, so that we have a show to put together and bring you live each week. So it's been a busy year, as I said, and one of the standout parts of the show for me was our visit to Duxford to the Imperial War Museum back in September for the Battle of Britain Memorial Air Show, where we saw some great aircraft. We met some great people, including many listeners as well of the show. But we also had a chance encounter with someone who spotted us in the hangar while we were starting to wrap up at the end of the day. And it was Mike from the Supermarine Seaplane, the Spitfire project. And I got the chance to have a really good chat with Mike all about the project that he is doing, and it is a very, very interesting listen indeed. So on behalf of me, Carlos here, and all the team, Happy New Year to everyone, and here is that brilliant interview. It's always nice to come to an air show and meet someone who may not have heard of us before, but who has a great story to tell us all about a certain aircraft. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Hello there. Nice to meet you.
And you. Good to see you here. First off, a bit about yourself.
So, my name is Mike Borrell, and I am a volunteer with the Supermarine Seaplane charity. And I I came upon them purely by chance because originally I was brought in just to do some voice work for one of their videos, and that essentially progressed from doing the voice work to doing more of the video editing, and now somehow I'm in charge of the social media and merchandise design.
So a bit about the project. What is this project all about?
The Supermarine seaplane in particular is the Supermarine S5. Now there was several of them overall, the S4, S5, S6, etc., etc. This one in particular was groundbreaking because this was the one that won the Schneider Trophy back in 1927, and we are rapidly approaching the centenary of the victory. And the thing that was most important about this aircraft was it was designed to win. And what that means is that there was a number of very important developments that went into this aircraft that meant it set outright speed records and all sorts of different designs. And from there, the new technologies that were created, the advances in design, they led directly to the development of the Spitfire just a few years later. And it's not an exaggeration to say that without the Supermarine S5, the Spitfire wouldn't have existed. And that's why it matters.
So your project you're doing at the moment, so you are building from scratch, or you're restoring, or?
We are building entirely from scratch for want of a better phrase, a replica Supermarine S5. To my knowledge, there are no surviving aircraft, certainly none airworthy anymore. There was a replica built during the 80s, I believe, and unfortunately that one went down due to an airframe failure, and the pilot of that was one Bill Hosey, and he was well known all around the south coast because he was flying this remarkable aircraft. And it is actually Bill's son Will who is heading this new charity, and we have been very, very fortunate to have original designs and a really broad range of very talented individuals working together on this project. For example, a number of the guys that we have helping build the airframe, they were employed specifically in that film, Those Magnificent Men and Their Flying Machines. So we're not short of expertise.
So I'm guessing one of you has got a rather big garage.
It started off in garages, but unfortunately it had to expand into full-blown hangars and all the rest of it. But it's sort of spread around the country, and we're now starting to bring it back into one solid place. So the next stage, we've already completed the wings, we have skinned them, they are basically ready to go, and now we're working on the floats. And that's all taking place down in Bodmin. So unfortunately I've not actually been down there to have a look at it yet, but I've seen the pictures.
So what is the goal of the whole project, the end goal?
The goal of the whole project is to get the airframe that we are currently working on finished, airworthy and airborne by 2027. And the aim is then to be doing essentially air shows all around the south coast. Whether or not we're going to somehow work out how to bring them further inland, I'm not sure, because I don't know what the range of the S5 was, because it was naturally just designed as a short-range racer, and with it being a seaplane, it's not so good at runways. So most likely it's going to be touring around the coast of the UK, potentially coming into any large rivers. We'd like it on the Thames, but whether or not we can get that kind of permission, time will tell. But yeah, by 2027, back in the air. And it's not just a matter of getting this cool aircraft in the air. The purpose is to bring back into the consciousness of the UK this aircraft, which is so important, because everybody knows and loves the Spitfire, but almost no one knows where the Spitfire came from. So we want to show the country, and indeed the world, the origin of it. That's the purpose.
So, a bit about yourself, as in regards to aviation. Have you got a passion for aviation? Do you fly yourself, or do you just love being around aircraft?
To be fair, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a young lad that isn't into aircraft in some way, shape or form. I used to be in the Air Cadets, and I went through their scheme, so I flew in Grob tutors and the Vigilant gliding and things like that. And I've been up in a Tiger Moth and some helicopters and bits and bobs. I'm not qualified. It's all just been sort of air experience flights. Beyond that, I did intend to join the RAF, but it turned out I was colourblind, so that was a big no. So then I went and joined the Royal Marines instead, and managed to blow my back out, so that didn't go very far either. So instead of the active service side of things, I went on, and I am currently doing my third degree in military studies. I'm currently doing a PhD at the University of Leeds in counterinsurgency.
Wow.
So, if you can't be directly involved, you might as well be theoretically involved.
So before we wrap up, where can our viewers, listeners go and find out more info about this project, your amazing project you're putting together?
So the first port of call for most people would be the Instagram page, which I am now in charge of, and that is simply if you go onto Instagram and search Supermarine Seaplane. Beyond that, if you want to, just go to supermarineseaplane.co.uk, and that is our website.
So there we go. Give them a look and find out more info about what they're doing. And make sure you keep in touch with us. I'd love to hear how everything is going along with the project.
When it's airborne, you guys should come along and get some cool footage.
That would be great. So,
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today. It's been great to meet you.
An absolute pleasure. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought, exactly.
So,
but enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can avoid the rain.
Well, that was amazing, wasn't it? Considering we were just about to leave the venue, and Mike just sort of showed up, and we pointed the camera in his face, and Carlos had a great chat with him. But no, amazing project that they're working on there, isn't it? Absolutely.
It is. It's utterly fascinating, isn't it? It's the and I think for me it was the spontaneity of it, as you say, because we were literally at the end of the day, we were just starting to pack everything up, and then he sort of wandered up and went, "Oh, hello, I know you guys," and all this kind of thing. And it's like this, as you say, such an interesting project, and I really hope, please forgive the pun, that they get it off the ground.
Yeah, well, me too. I'm sure we'll be back talking to Mike, because he sounds a very interesting fella, and a pretty good voiceover chap as well, I would say.
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, maybe I should have some made by him for the radio show.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so we've been doing a lot of sort of travelling around this year, and one of the things that we did, we spent some time at RAF Cosford. We've been there a couple of times before, but yeah, Carlos was really in his element here, and one of Nick's favourite interviews of the year is the interview that Carlos did under the wing of a Hercules at RAF Cosford. So let's go over and see what that's all about.
So you join me at the C-130J Hercules here. I'm here with Howard Fielder. How are you, Howard?
I'm all right, thank you very much.
Good, thanks. Thanks for letting us come here and see the amazing aircraft we're standing next to. And tell us a bit about yourself. What's your role here?
So I'm the senior engineer for 47 Squadron, so I manage the people and lead the engineering on the last remaining C-130 Squadron.
That's great. So you've got quite an in-depth job, very technical job, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It's a technical job. It's a big leadership challenge as well, but it has a lot of technical elements. The aircraft keeps us interested and keeps us entertained every day.
So how did your aviation career passion start for you? Was it at an early age?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a lot of people who get into this field, it was things like going to sitting at the end of the runway at Fairford, watching Vulcans take off after the air show and feeling that rattle in your chest and things like that. So, those visceral feelings from the aircraft that have now left us. So yeah, that's what got me into it, yeah.
So your career start, are you a pilot yourself, or is it you're purely kind of the engineering side of things?
Yeah, firmly feet on the ground. I'm definitely keep the aircraft fixed from the ground, yeah.
So progression on to, obviously you went to school, done your exams and stuff, and then went on through, was it the Royal Air Force was kind of the vision for you for your career?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought about joining the RAF right the way through my formative years at school and going to university, and studied engineering, and always felt that it would be a good career. Obviously, there's always been a temptation to go to industry, but the RAF career sort of stood out as one where there's a lot of variety and a lot of a lot of responsibility as well. Yeah.
We talked to a lot of pilots on the show, and obviously pilots within the Royal Air Force who fly aircraft.
obviously everyone thinks, you know, the Royal Air Force is flying. All you do is fly aircraft, become a pilot. But obviously there is the engineering side, which is a side I think that most people don't kind of look as an avenue to go down to be within the Royal Air Force. Is it kind of, for you, is it, you know, you love that aspect of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a lot of people who are technicians in the Air Force, and you think that's a growing area with you know, the growing field of communications, cyber, and all that side of the house. We've got some 10,000 people in the RAF which are, you know, aligned to being a technician. So there's quite a few people, and they're in a growing field, away from, you know, the traditional operations of just flying aircraft into the new space of operations such as cyber. So yeah, there's lots of technicians out there.
So Howard, tell us a bit about this amazing aircraft we're standing right next to.
Well, this is, as you say, it is an amazing aircraft. This is the mighty C-130J Hercules, the Super Hercules as some people call it, and the RAF's been operating this variant of C-130 since 1999, so now 24 years. And in total with the C-130K, we're just clocking up to 56 and a half years, which, as Chief of the Air Staff said last week, is the longest serving RAF aircraft in service, even longer than the Canberra, I'm told. And this aircraft is, it's a really, really useful aircraft that has been operating in almost every conflict and every operation we've conducted since 1966, when we first got the aircraft.
So Howard, tell us a bit about, obviously there's tail art on here, which a lot of people have taken notice of today. We've seen it on here. What is that representing?
So the tail art, we've got a decal on the tail, which is trying to recognise the years of service of this aircraft and mark it out, so that when we were doing the flypasts, and there'll be a flypast on Wednesday on the 14th, and then the King's birthday flypast will be our last one. We're just trying to mark it out and honour those 56 years, but doing it in a way which has allowed us to operate these aircraft right away to the end. So doing an elaborate tail design would have been preclusive, in order, given the fact that we came back from operations only last Sunday, so a week ago. We weren't able to put in place something more elaborate, because of course you need time to put it on, and then also, should we get called to do anything, we need to be able to take it off again. So that, yeah, we went for a fairly simple design. I think it's quite elegant. It recognises those 56 years of operations across the two variants.
So what other trips have you got planned for this year? Obviously shows. We're here at RAF Cosford today, and obviously we're starting to get to the end now of obviously the tour with the aircraft. Where are the next sort of shows you'll be at this year?
So this is going to be our last show. So Cosford is our last air show. We've got some amazing crowds here today. I'm absolutely blown away by the queues to come and see the Hercules. And yeah, we won't be going to Riyadh, obviously, because that is in July, after we've gone out of service. So from here on in, we've got our national flypast, where many people from around the UK will get to see the aircraft. And that's now been published, so people that are interested can see where they can go to see the aircraft. And then, of course, we're going to be flying over London next Saturday for the King's birthday flypast, alongside many other RAF and defence aircraft.
I'm sure. And will you be on board yourself?
I don't know. Like I said, firmly rooted to the ground. I think the national flypast is going to be a long flight in the medium and low level. So it could be very interesting for passengers. So I won't be on that. But there may be on the King's birthday, depending on how many people we want to take up on that aircraft.
So what is the retirement plan then for the aircraft, do you know?
Well, like this, like any aircraft, we've got a great sales agency to try and get the best value from these aircraft when they go out of service. Clearly, in an ideal world, we get every last ounce of use out of these aircraft before they go out of service. These ones are roughly halfway through their life, so we will be selling them, and they're quite valuable assets. So we will be selling them. We've got 15 at the moment in the MOD, 5 remain in the forward fleet, but all of those 15 aircraft we will be looking to sell on, yeah.
I think it's safe to say many people know the Hercules is kind of built to last. It's one of those aircraft that you you think of as being a bit like the B-52 that seems to go on and on and on. I think these aircraft will be flying for many years to come.
Yeah, well, the American philosophy is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, you look at some aircraft like the B-52, which they're talking about it being the first 100-year aircraft, and this is the same. I mean, some of these aircraft have gone through major servicings inside the last year, 18 months, and so some of them are now, have a bit like Trigger's Bryn. A lot of the components have been changed, and the only thing that's original on it is the airframe.
It's one of those questions that people ask us all the time. Is when you have an aircraft like this, is what will be its end of life? You see these companies around the globe that tend to have like tags made up of aircraft and stuff. And when you have an aircraft like this, which has that tail logo on, these aircraft become kind of collector's items in a sense. Are you a collector of aircraft parts yourself, like me?
I don't think I would say I am, but I mean, these aircraft, we've obviously looked at giving some elements to the RAF Museum and other museums in order to make sure that these aircraft their service is honoured, but honestly they are very valuable assets and they've got an operational future, so with hopefully some other nations. So yeah, I don't think we'll be doing too much of that, certainly not tail fins, which are obviously a major part of the aircraft.
Coffee table made from a tail fin, that'd be nice. Just one last question, Howard. On the show we always ask the people we talk to on the show this question. It's a kind of put you on the spot question as such in regards to aircraft, but if you were given the chance now here at Cosford to jump into an aircraft, albeit retired, still flying, GA, military, commercial, whatever, if it was here at Cosford, you were given the opportunity to get in and fly that aircraft, what would the aircraft be?
That is a very difficult question, and one that's probably got quite a controversial answer. But
you can have more than one answer.
Okay. It would have to be either the Vulcan or the Lightning, the Lightning 1. I think both of those aircraft are pretty iconic, and they're aircraft that I've seen fly, and I would definitely want to go up and have a look at them. I think I'm an engineer, and I hear the stories about the engineers that worked on the Vulcan to make them ready to launch within the set amount of time that were required to, and some of those elements. And I think that's the aircraft, Vulcan or definitely Vulcan or Lightning. Yeah.
That's not one we get very often, so it's good to hear a difference in there. For me, I have to say, one of the things that I miss from the Royal Air Force, and those listeners to the show will know this because I go on about it all the time, mostly on the show, I do miss the TriStar.
Okay.
I really do miss the TriStar. I know some don't miss the TriStar. For me, I loved the L1011 TriStars that you guys used to have, obviously with the refuelling wing. And I have a piece at home in the office as well.
Do you?
Yes.
So I do sort of miss the TriStar. I don't miss the very long journeys in and out of Afghanistan on a TriStar, but I do miss the aircraft. Yeah.
Was it right that we used to hear that they used to go tech a lot? For me, I never, I've flown on them as a child, as a passenger version, but I always used to hear from the other members of the Royal Air Force that we talked to on the show, they used to say they used to go tech quite a bit.
So they were, wonderful aircraft, but they required quite a lot of care and maintenance. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I've got a piece of one at home anyway. But Howard, just want to say a big thanks to you for coming on the show. It's been great to speak to you today and talk about this aircraft and obviously the important role that you guys play and stuff. So we wish you all the best for the future, whatever you're up to, and thanks for taking time to speak to us today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, Nev, it was a truly amazing time that you had over there. It was such a good day, wasn't it?
It was, and the weather behaved itself as well. The crowds were fantastic, and we had a great time. So thanks to everybody at Cosford who helped us with the interviews and setting up all those things that we did there. Incredible.
Now, interestingly, one of producer John's favourite elements to it was actually preceding that. It was the build-up to the air show itself, and we were extremely lucky to be able to welcome on the show the RAF Cosford squadron leader Chris Wilson, who was telling us all about how they're going to put the show together.
Good evening, everybody involved and everybody listening. Thanks for having me. I should just point out that the person who does know about the air show couldn't make it tonight, so you've got me.
I'm sure you'll be fine. So anyway, thanks for joining us, Chris, and thanks for coming on this evening to talk to us about the air show. So before we get into the kind of ins and outs of the air show and what goes on there, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do within the Royal Air Force.
Well, I've served now for just over 31 years. Started life as what we used to call an airman. We now call them aviators, and we've had a name change. And I commissioned probably to become an officer about 12 years into my career. I've done various jobs in the UK and around the world, but latterly, for the last few years, I've been a media officer. I am the media officer at RAF Cosford day to day, but then that means I'm also the media officer for the Cosford Air Show. From anybody listening from across the pond, Amanda will know it's the equivalent of what you would call public affairs in the US.
Nice.
So my job day to day, when I'm not involved in airshow business, is I'm just really involved on a regional level about RAF Cosford, what it does, trying to sell that to the public and talk to the public about what we do at Cosford. Talk to the press sometimes and things like that, and just generally deal with engagement in the local area.
So with the air show itself, then, Chris, obviously the planning I'd imagine, goes into effect probably a year in advance. I'd imagine is that kind of where it sort of starts with the air show planning?
Yeah, we normally give ourselves maybe 2 weeks to a month off after the air show finishes. We'll go through a phase of, as you probably understand, where you get around a table and you look at all the lessons identified from the previous show, what went really well, maybe what didn't go quite as well as you would have liked it to have done, what smacked you around the face that you didn't see coming at all. And you sit down and you work out what those things were and how you're going to change things for next year. And then pretty quickly, yes, you start to get into the planning for the next year's show. So it's quite relentless, really.
One sort of slightly off-piece sort of question, really, Chris, for me. Obviously, we've had the pandemic. That will have had a significant impact on presumably a couple of years of not being able to put shows together. Is this the first or second year since you've been able to sort of come back, if you like, all bells and whistles?
Yeah, so this will be the second year we've been back since the pandemic, but it's the first year since the pandemic when we've had what we would consider to be a proper planning cycle.
Right.
The decision for last year's air show in 2022 was actually made quite late in the day. So where we would normally have had maybe the best part of 9 months to put things in place, we did it in about 5.
Wow.
And those of you who are aviation enthusiasts will either know or at least understand that there are probably certain key points along a 9-month period where certain things have to happen for an air show. And before we'd even announced, we'd missed some of those key points.
Wow.
So we were on the back foot straight away. So it's not the first air show since the pandemic, but it's the first one where we will have had a proper planning cycle in place.
Love that.
So I've seen the videos online, Chris, and I've seen obviously reports from previous years' shows, and you guys look like you have a fantastic lineup of display acts and stuff, on the show day and that. But how does it go? I mean, do you get the display teams mostly all Royal Air Force display teams, or do you obviously get display teams from other kind of aerial kind of display teams in?
Yeah, not the last Royal Air show. You got me?
Oh yeah. I think you're back. Yeah.
I work at Cost. I live in North Wales when I'm not at work, so I should have probably mentioned that. Really, deepest, darkest Wales. But we should be fine. So you'd like to think, with it being the last Royal Air Force air show in the calendar, that you'd automatically get every single asset that the Royal Air Force has. But of course, you know that that's not always really possible. The fleet of aircraft we have are very busy and are out there doing jobs on a fairly regular basis. And sometimes when you think you've got an aircraft, at the last minute you don't have it, and vice versa. Sometimes you get something at the very last minute. we try and have a healthy mixture of, the Royal Air Force fleets, aircraft from other nations, whether that be civilian or military, and then of course some of the privately owned civilian aircraft from around the UK as well. So it's a healthy mixture, and you're normally aiming to have, if things have gone well, 20 odd displays at our air show. That's what we'd aim for.
So in terms of, a lot of, there's been a lot of changes over the last few years, especially. I'm sort of thinking, without wanting to go into too much detail, obviously we've had a fairly big incident not that long ago, which will have undoubtedly impacted how the air shows are run. What sort of restrictions do you face now based on that in terms of area that, what's the word I'm looking for here, guys? You're probably sharper at this than me.
Like the crowd line.
Crowd lines and things like that. Have you had to make any alterations based on those changes?
I think for a number of years now, we've always kept aircraft, the line along which they display a good distance back from the crowd line. I watched the programme on telly, and you guys will probably have seen it from, I think it was Farnborough, back in the 50s, when an aircraft went in and the engine came away and, went into the crowd. Those days, thankfully, are long gone. So, yes, we do keep the aircraft quite far back from the crowd line. But of course, the biggest change I think that we saw was of course post-Shoreham.
Yes.
That really changed a lot of things in terms of the way aircraft display in the UK. So you'd have what you'd almost call like a high energy box, where certain aircraft can display only within a certain area. And not only is it back from the crowd line, but as an airshow organizer, you absolutely have to make sure you do everything possible to make sure that nobody is under the area where the aircraft is displaying.
Yeah.
So if you maybe have people who live in a local village, and an aircraft would have traditionally in the past done something that would have gone into the outskirts of a village, and people would maybe sit in their gardens and watch this happening. Nowadays, it's incumbent upon us to make sure we do all we can to ensure that nobody's under where the aircraft would be displaying.
And safety, obviously, it's always
absolutely
been absolutely 100% sort of paramount,
absolutely.
Isn't it? Yeah, indeed,
yeah.
Indeed.
And to be fair, in everything we do, that's the watchword.
Yeah.
Is safety. Obviously, the second one after that is enjoyable. We want to make sure it's enjoyable for as wide a range of people as possible who are going to come to the show. But overarching with every single thing, it is all about safety.
So perhaps we should move on now to the show itself. I'm really excited to be coming along with the team to come and watch. We've got it's going to be a great day. What have we got to look forward to, Chris?
Well, so far we've announced the what you would maybe consider to be the usual RAF displays, the Typhoon, the BBMF. We've just announced the Chinook yesterday. They finally had their public display authority yesterday, so they've announced now as well. We've got the Rolls-Royce Spitfire and Mustang displays.
Oh, nice.
Trying to think off the top of my head now, really.
Sorry,
put you on the spot. Yeah, we've got the Catalina and various other bits, the B-17 Sally B. So we've got loads and loads of really interesting bits and pieces. But there's aircraft I know we're looking at who I can't talk about because I can't say whether they're definitely coming or in what format, if they are coming, they will display. So there's an awful lot that we have got, and there's more that we were going to get, but I couldn't talk about it right now.
Okay. I love that. Teasing the thing. Now, Mr. Warner has just said in the chat room here, he's really, I'm going to absolutely butcher this. He said he's really looking forward to is it the Patrouille suite?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, of course. I've missed the Swiss off. I can't believe that. You've asked me to announce what we've got, and I've missed the Swiss. Remember I said at the top of the programme you didn't have the person you was talking about. Yeah, sorry. I just randomly forgotten those 6 F5s. Yes. So, yes, we have the Swiss. And actually, what's interesting this year for us is we're used to having the Red Arrows, but this year we've got the Red Arrows, we've got the Swiss display team, and then, of course, on top of that, we've got the Jordanian Falcons as well.
Oh, wow.
So, actually, we're quite excited to have 3 separate nations display teams, 2 of which, of course, are fast jet. So it's going to be a very good show this year.
I'm so excited. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, Armando, I know you're involved quite a lot, obviously, because you've been like involved with like Reno air races and things like that. I mean, there's some major logistics obviously involved in stuff like this, isn't there, Armando?
Yeah, from a couple different standpoints in my career, my 30 years of flying, air shows and displaying our capabilities to the public was one of my highlights. It was the most fun, some of the most fun times I ever had in the United States Air Force was actually traveling to air shows, specifically traveling to foreign air shows like Cosford, Riyadh, Farnborough, because it was just a really unique opportunity for us to display our capabilities, which, I mean, nowadays, you can YouTube everything, but it was really that face-to-face interaction with the public. And as a media officer, Chris, I know you understand how important this is to have the crews, the maintainers, the engineers, the support, everything that goes into a flying operation, to have that unique opportunity to be face to face with the crowds and those aviation enthusiasts, and especially the kids, right? It's always really that's the hardest questions always came from like our show listeners.
Yeah.
The aviation enthusiasts that know how many fan blades there are in the second stage compressor to my aircraft engine, and that's the thing that I don't know.
Yeah.
So I know for me it was a highlight. Now for you, as a media officer, as a critical part of this air show, what does this mean to you? What is the most rewarding part? What's the most challenging part for yourself, for the base as a whole?
I think the most rewarding part for me, and it'll probably sound like a horrible cliche, but I think it echoes what you've just alluded to there, Amanda, which is when you see a young person climb into a cockpit and you just see a spark go. You just see something in them where they suddenly, you can almost see that they suddenly realise what they want to do. And that might be the cockpit itself. It might be the fact that, they met one of your crew or one of your engineers, and they suddenly realised that standing next to an Osprey and speaking to somebody, that they wanted to become an aviation or an aeronautical engineer. I think for me, and I've done about, 11 air shows now for Cosford. I've worked at it. And it's just seeing those young people who are so excited by what's going on in the air, all the things happening on the ground that are aviation related. That's just, you get a buzz from seeing somebody getting that buzz.
And of course, one of the nice things you see from that also, you see two things actually when you see that happen. You see the joy on that child's face as they're climbing into the aircraft, and then you see the life drain out of the parent that's standing next to them when they realise what's about to happen.
Yeah. But, I think an aviation career is quite aspirational. So I think if a parent sees a young person want to work on aircraft or fly aircraft, I think I'd be chuffed if that had happened to me. But I'm sure that there are plenty of parents who love that thing. But any air show, I think the challenge for any air show, and it certainly is for Cosford, is you guys will understand completely. We're not the biggest air show on the calendar by any stretch of the imagination. We never try and compare ourselves with something like Riyadh, because that's not who we are. What we're trying to do is infuse lots of young people about the Royal Air Force, and that takes place in the air, but it also takes place on the ground. So I'd say the biggest challenge for me is trying to, show something that keeps aviation enthusiasts like yourselves interested and makes you want to come to the show, but at the same time make sure there's something for somebody who's coming as part of a family with young children, and that they also leave thinking, that was really worth my while. Now, I'm sure most of you, for instance, will have seen the Red Arrows numerous times. But for some people, who come to the show, that's still the one team they want to come and see. They've maybe never seen them before, or they haven't seen them for 5 years. That's who they want to come and see. And it's quite easy to be dismissive of something you've seen routinely, and you just have to remember that not everybody's like you. So the challenge would be a massive audience who all want different things and trying to please all of them, if you can.
Now, and Cosford is still an operational base, right?
Yeah, I mean, we fly in grog tutors if you want to class that as operational. But yes, we are an active airfield, as we would describe ourselves. And of course, what's interesting is it's not a very long runway. So if you have a Riyadh, you can pretty much think of everything you're bringing in from around the world. It can land on site, it can taxi and park up. and you've got it then for 3 or 4 days, and it's ready to go. If you're the United States Air Force or another arm, you can bring in multiple aircraft, some which fly and some which go straight to static. We don't really have that luxury at Cosford. The runway's, I think, probably about 1,200 meters maybe at best. So that automatically means that there are many aircraft that we want to display who can't land on. So they've either got to travel from their destination airfield, or they've got to land at another RAF airfield and then come to us literally for the display, which of course adds to the complexity of the logistics.
Wow.
And speaking of logistics, does this become a focal point for all of the personnel on the base? It's an all hands effort to put this show on.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a really good question, Armando. So there's kind of what I call a nucleus of us who work on the show throughout the year, but that's no more than probably about 15 people. Some of those people, even within the 15, it's their day job and that's all they do. They're locally employed civilians who work just on the air show. Then there are probably about another 5 of us who are Air Force, but divide our times between our day jobs and working on the air show. And then as you get closer to the air show, you start to bring project managers in and project officers. They are usually serving officers and serving NCOs at Cosford. And then in the last week, the day job stops for everybody. And it's all about turning that very quiet but active airfield into something that's about to see 50,000 people descend.
Goodness me, that's a big number.
It is, yeah, a very big number. It's huge.
And how do you manage that relationship between the military, the RAF, and your civilians, which are such an integral part of all military operations, which is kind of a little known. I talk about it every once in a while on the show, but we really rely on the continuity of civilians. And so how do you manage that with the volunteers, with the outside vendors, with all your logistics vendors?
I mean, we technically we don't have volunteers like some air shows do. We have serving personnel, and they're told that they're going to work on the air show. So we have a phrase in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in America, where you're voluntold.
Yeah.
Voluntold. So we have a lot of people who work at the air show who just, if you're based at Cosford, you know that you are going to work on the air show at some point throughout the year. It just depends on what rank you are and what your day job is as to how embedded into the air show you are and when you come into it. But absolutely, there are still an awful lot of civilians who work on the air show alongside serving personnel and people who come from other parts of the Air Force to bring displays and things. And then, of course, it wouldn't happen without lots of civilian teams that come in and put marquees up and do all the other bits and pieces that turn, like I said, that very quiet airfield into something which, when you come along in a couple of months' time, it is pretty immense.
One of my favorite parts about going to air shows in Europe was at 5 or 6 p.m. when the gates close and the announcer says, "All right, everybody, thank you very much for coming for the day. Go ahead and safely make your way to your vehicles." Once the gates closed, all of the air show performers would start getting together, and there was this incredibly unique bonding. So this year you have the Jordanians, the Belgians, the Swiss, probably some U.S. assets, the British assets. That was the best part, is the after party, and it was every single night. Do you guys have that? Is that a benefit, or how else do you entice acts to come in and participate in the air show?
Yeah, I think Amanda, you know that what goes on in the after show party stays in the after show party. What I would say is you're absolutely right. It's I think what I've seen at the air show is that sense of community amongst aviators from all over the world. And yes, we do have a massive after show party that thanks everybody who works at it. And actually we announce who the best display was, and there's trophies given out and things like that. A real sense of camaraderie. But actually over the weekend itself, there are a series of evening events, even as the show's building up, where yes, people will have a drink and relax a little bit without completely unwinding, because obviously there's the air show to come. But that sense of community, I think, is often what brings a lot of teams back to us. They obviously want to fly their aircraft, they want to display, but conversely, they want to catch up with friends that maybe they haven't seen since last year, or they just want to sit down and share bits about their aircraft and places they've been and things. And it's just a bewildering array of flying suits and different big flashy patches of arms from different air shows and nations. It's a wonderful sight to behold. It really is.
Yes, such a great interview, wasn't it, Nev? It was a great sort of prequel, if you like, to what was yet to come.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Really, really enjoyed that. So no, thanks very much indeed to Chris for all his time and effort on that. Now, of course, when it comes to the opportunity to fly aircraft, then we need look no further than young Carlos, who always gets the opportunities, it seems, to jump into the right-hand seat somewhere. And of course, he was in his element with this next clip, wasn't he?
He certainly was. This is Armando's favourite clip from 2023, and it was when him and a certain Carlos Stebbings jumped into the Pilatus.
Polaris 598 Mike Concord Tower, runway 2 clear for takeoff and on departure, fly runway heading, climb maintain 3000.
Runway heading 3000, clear for takeoff, runway 2, 8 Mike. Alright.
Warrior 6909 Tango, traffic taking the runway for departure is the Pilatus, runway 2, clear to land.
Aircraft inside, runway 2 and third land, so alright, flight idle's coming in. Here we go. Right crosswind. Coming along. Alright, power set coming back. Got a caution. There we go. Alright, there's 80 knots. And 100 knots. Alright, positive brake. Let's go. Gear up. Let's gear up. And gate coming up. Goddamn burn. Lights are off.
Polaris 598 Mike, contact y'all at departure, see ya.
Or departure, see you in a couple hours, 8 Mike. Hey, departure, good morning, Polaris 598 Mike, 1500 for 3000, runway heading off Concord.
Air 598 Mike, short departure, better contact. Short altimeter 3017, climbing maintain 5000.
3017, 5000, 8 Mike. Alright, there's 1,000 feet. Let's go flaps up. Flaps up. And flaps coming up. Thank you. And climb power is set. The house is over there.
Hey, Mike, climb and maintain 7000, turn right, heading 120.
120 up to 7,000, 8 Mike. 7,000 set, armed, right turn, 120 on the heading. And airspeed mode.
Pilot 598, Mike, start approach. Good morning, climb and maintain 16,000.
16,000, 8 Mike. Alright, 16,000 set, armed, airspeed mode.
28 Alpha, just maintain 15,000.
And that's it. Well done.
Set of 2318, contact, disregard, tremendous frequency.
Flaps full. We're going to do a flaps 15 landing.
Yeah.
Because we're going to keep the speed up pretty much the whole way. So, unless they ask us specifically to do a short landing and get off the runway, we'll land at flaps 15. Okay.
Hey, Frontier Flight 1606, we're out of 1000 for 10 south of Jim's at 9,000. Looks like we're trying to make that. Looks like we're not going to
go 7 for the 6,000.
Frontier 1606, yeah, no sweat. Just descend and maintain 8,000 and expect Iowa Zulu 9 right.
All right, down to 8,000, expect Zulu 9 right. We do have it, Alpha Frontier Flight 1606.
Blue Streak 5175, contact the tower now, 118.5, take care.
18.5, Blue Streak 5175, good day.
So you will be in charge of gear and flap, sir. So just kind of pull it out.
Yeah.
And all the way down. Don't stop in the middle, just all the way to the stop. And these go right when I call for them.
Just like before.
All right, IGLC. ILS Zulu 9 right, IGLZ. Okay, that is identified.
29 nautical miles to run.
All right, there's
November
6,000.
5908, Mike, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,008, Mike. 4,000 feet. On the way down.
Frontier Flight 1606, descend and maintain 6,000.
6,000, Frontier Flight 1606.
What's the next checklist there? After the descents.
Here's the approach.
Let's go ahead and knock that out.
Okay. Altimeters.
3032 set on the left and the right, it looks like.
And external lights.
We're all set, so let's get the recogs on. That's on. That's all set.
Ice protection system.
Not required. Everything's set where it needs to be.
Good. Approach checklist complete.
All right. And final checklist is next, right?
Yep.
All right.
Ready to let's go.
Now we'll do that once we put the gear and the flaps down.
Yeah. .236 knots.
At 4,000 feet, we'll still be inside the Bravo, so I don't have to worry about speed limits. 1,000 go, 5,000 for 4,000.
Philly approach, Sikorsky 35 Hotel Fox, reach you level 2500. Sikorsky 5 Hotel Fox, so we approach altimeter 3032. There's VFR traffic 1 o'clock, 2 miles southbound, 1100, indicated type unknown. Alright, looking for traffic for 35 Hotel Fox.
Let's get tower ready in there, 135.1, and ground is 121.9. So now this will be our approach frequencies, and then once he switches us over to tower, just switch to COM 2.
So you don't have to touch that, you can just...
Yep, all I have to do is hit the microphone switch to...
Sikorsky 3 Hotel Fox, traffic no factor. 35 Hotel Fox. Lattice 8 Mike, flight heading 355, descend and maintain 2,100.
355, 2,100, 8 Mike. 355, 2,100, that is still in the Bravo.
Frontier Flight 1606, descend and maintain 4,000.
4,000, Frontier Flight 1606.
I'll slow it down to about 210 knots or so. All right, let's go change the nav source to the localizer.
So the airport is off.
Yep, about our 1 o'clock over there.
Yeah.
It's right on the water.
You see it from here? I think it's...
Probably. There's
Yeah.
a big open area over there. One to go, 3,100 for 2,100.
So Lattice 8 Mike, advising you have Philadelphia in sight, 2 o'clock, 10 miles.
inside 8 Mike Mike.
Flight 8 Mike Mike, cleared the visual approach runway 9 right.
Clear the visual 9 right, 8 Mike Mike. Alright, let's go for Keeley. Let's go direct flight plan Keeley as the final approach fix. Activate. And Keeley at 1800. So this is going to be just a faster approach than we would normally do.
Frontier Flight 1606, flighting 340, reduced speed to 180.
340 heading and 180 on speed, Frontier Flight 1606.
Flight 8 Mike Mike, contact the tower 118.5, take care.
Tower 18.5, 8 Mike Mike. That's a different frequency, 18.5. 118.5, enter. Tower, good morning, Pilatus 598, Mike Mike, visual 9 right.
Pilatus 598, Mike Mike, Philadelphia Tower, 9 right, clear to land number 1, wind 080 at 7.
Clear to land, number 1, 9 right, 8 Mike Mike. Alright, we are cleared to land. We're going to kick off the automation. This is me. Autopilot disconnect. That is the autopilot. Approach arm. Seatbelt lights are on. Oh yeah. Alright, we'll just double check that we are lined up on the correct runway. Since there are parallel runways, but I got 9 right in sight. It's the dark runway there on the right. Alright, take the gear down, please.
Yeah, gear down. Gear coming down.
And flaps 15.
And flaps 15. Flaps 15 select. And 3 green on the gear.
Alright, 3000 is our missed approach altitude. Glide slopes captured, localizers captured, on the way down. And we're keeping the speed up on purpose. We're doing about 120. Let's do the final checklist, please.
Final checklist. Okay, landing gear.
Down 3
greens. Flaps.
Are set 15 indicating.
Cabin pressurization. Check.
Yep, that is set.
And speed.
We're 120 and then we'll slow it down on short final.
And your damper.
Is away.
Final checklist complete.
Thanks, buddy.
500.
Alright, gear, yaw, lights, flaps, we are cleared to land.
And your 2 red, 2 white.
Had a bird on short final there. Let's keep an eye on him.
Just saying.
Alright, we'll slow it down. There's minimums. Working the AOA.
Pilatus 8, Mike, left turn when you're able, then a right on Sierra.
Left turn, right on Sierra 8, Mike.
Tower Frontier Flight 1606, 9 right.
Alright, we are clear. Lights.
Frontier 1606, Philly Tower, 9 right, clear to land.
Clear to land 9 right, Frontier Flight 1606.
Wind chill heat probes, caution. Beep.
Clean up now.
We'll leave him at 15.
Yeah.
Tower 8, Mike, you want us with you still, right?
Yes, sir. 8 Mike, you're going to go straight ahead on Sierra, all the way down Sierra to cross runway 35, 9 left, and then you're going to go Delta Alpha crossing runway 8 all the way to Atlantic. Are you familiar?
Yep, so Sierra across 35, left on Delta across 9 left, Delta Alpha to Atlantic.
You go left on Delta after you cross 35 because it's closed on the north side. So you're going to take Sierra all the way down the end, crossing 35, 9 left, and then you're going to join Hotel Delta Alpha crossing 8.
Okay, I got you. Sierra all the way to the end, cross 35, 9 left, Hotel, and then over back on to Delta.
You got it. Thank you. There, it looks like they're doing painting or something.
Needs it.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty crazy to have a conversation with the tower controller. I guess we picked the most non-busy time in here. All right, let me get the latest information. Sierra 3032 on the altimeter. That hasn't changed. All right. Hey, Grant, good afternoon. Pilatus 598, Mike, over at Atlantic Information, Sierra ready, taxi.
Class 598, Mike, ground runway 8, taxi via Alpha Delta, ATIS information is Sierra.
All right, excellent. 8 Alpha Delta, we got Sierra, 8 Mike.
All right, traffic inbound waiting for you. Tower is going to be 118.5. Take care.
See ya. All right. All right, we're using runway 8. It's 5,000 feet. That's excellent. Tower 18.5. All right, let's do taxi checklist.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, before
taxi. I was going to say, jumping out. Flap lever.
Set
15. Set 15. HRS.
Set.
Autopilot.
Tested.
Pusher.
Tested.
Course.
Acknowledged.
Weather radar.
Is on standby.
De-icing systems.
Previously tested.
Inner SEP switch.
Is open.
Good. Before taxi checklist complete.
Okay, let's keep it going. Before
taxi checklist. Taxi lights.
On.
And brakes.
Checked.
Flight instruments.
Checked and set on the right.
Passenger advisory.
They are on.
Taxiing checklist complete.
Thank you. So we need to do.
That's at 615. Let's go Delta Alpha, just pass behind that Pilatus there. They should be out of the way here shortly.
All right, Delta Alpha behind the Pilatus, set at 615.
And Tower, Pilatus 598, Mike, we're up with you, runway 8, we'll need another 30 seconds.
Roger.
Same when you want the before takeoff checklist.
All right.
Ready?
Hold on, let's. I need to do a runway update here.
Okay.
So, flight plan.
And you want, I said, 615
Select
to the ramp with you?
departure. Philly 2, runway
Okay.
8. I need to review the departure first.
Sorry, set at 615. Do you want us with you or with ground?
Yeah, stay with
All
me.
right,
Alpha
so-
to the ramp for 615.
All right,
Let's go. Runway 8.
Tower 60 Hotel, we're complete switching up to Boeing Control Tower.
Tower 60 Hotel, Roger. Do you have that heavy in sight there, 1,000 feet?
Yes, we do.
All right, Tower 60 Hotel, just maintain visual separation from that
Climb,
traffic.
heading assigned ATC, that's
Thanks for your help.
climbing left turn to 245. Okay, assign heading, expect radar vectors to first vict, maintain 5,000 or lower assigned altitude. We were assigned 3,000. Expect clearance within 10. Okay. All aircraft go into stone, 2435. We got that into standby.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do before takeoff, please.
Takeoff power sets.
Calculated.
Flight controls.
Free and correct.
Trims.
Are 3 green and diamond.
Flap lever.
We're going to do a flaps 30 takeoff.
Flaps 30. Engine instruments.
All green.
And fuel quantities.
Checked.
Cool.
American 1623,
reviewed
crossing
and
niner left to Mike, straight into
pressurization,
spot
Set for
9.
20,000.
Cross niner left.
Comms and
to the right.
Got tower and we've got departure.
American
takeoff
1623.
brief.
Same as before, 5,000 foot runway. We're going to do a 30 flap takeoff. I'll take care of the flaps this time because it's a short field takeoff.
Yep.
But you can still get the gear.
Roger that.
That's the brief. That's it?
That's it.
All right.
Tower Pilatus 598, Mike, ready for departure, runway 8.
598 Mike, tower, fly heading 080, runway 8, clear for takeoff.
080, clear for takeoff, runway 8, Mike.
All right. Lights are set. Windshield heats, probes, ECS. Turn it to recirc. Flaps are set. All right, here we go. Yeah, let's do the checklist real quick.
Line up, external lights set, windshield heat
On.
probes
On.
transponder
Set.
and heading check
Is runway 8 on the pavement.
and condition lever.
Flight idle as soon as we get turned around here. So we're heavy and it's a short field, so we're doing a flaps 30 takeoff. Okay, all right, ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, speed is alive.
Speed's
power
alive.
set.
70 knots. 80 knots.
All right, there is 50 feet. Flaps are going 15. Positive rate, let's go gear up, please.
And gear up. And gear coming up.
All right, yaw damper and lights.
And all lights are right, gears up.
Thank you. All right, there's 100 knots, 400 feet. Flaps up, please.
Flaps up, 0. And 0 select.
All right, Mike, contact departure.
Or departure, Mike, see you.
Yeah.
Hey, departure, good afternoon. Pilatus 598, Mike, 800 for 3000 runway heading.
Pilatus 598, Mike, Philly departure, air contact, climb maintain, 9,000.
9008, Mike.
9,000 set and armed. Okay, Philly. All right, clamp power coming in here. All right, air conditioner back on.
say Mike Mike, turn left heading 320 for the climb.
Left turn 3208, Mike. 320 set. Nice and gentle, nice and gentle. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a view. You fell for 20. I did. That is a pretty view right there. So that was a very swift exit from the runway.
Say Mike Mike, proceed direct to Stowen.
Direct to Stowen, 8 Mike. Hit direct real quick. On the right side, the button. And hit activate on the bottom right. We are navving. Gives me a little extra juice. All right, when you get a chance, I will take the climb checklist. Okay, climb checklist. Ice protection systems. Set. Autopilot on, airspeed mode, nav mode, going direct Stowen. And power control lever. It is set for climb power, 36.9 on torque. ECS switch. Auto. Cabin pressure. Looks like it's climbing nicely. Yep. Altimeter. 3032 set. And 2 times. Climb checklist complete. C back there. So it's quite warm. Yeah, I don't want to.
29.5.
We don't want to do flood. It gets really loud. Like it does cool down real fast. It gets real loud back there. So I've got the air conditioner on, fans on high, with the flood off. So he cleared us to Stowen, which is the first fix on the airway. And then we'll take that airway all the way down to Greensboro. The mythical,
United 2095, turn left direct Potsdam.
Left turn direct Potsdam, United 2095.
Let's go try it. Right here, RH and AG. I'm always listening for them. Frequency change approved. Oh, hey, Armando. Carlos. How you doing? I'm pretty well. How are you? Good. So we're on our way back from Philadelphia. From Philadelphia with passengers on board this time. Still Part 91 for all you still Part 91 legal nerds out there. Yeah. Still Part 91 as the owner flight's a single pilot. Carlos is. I'm here. It's monitoring. Yeah, he's joining me for the flight. Monitoring, yeah. Yeah, passengers in the back. We're cruising.
Hey, you're on guard.
Kind of a follow-up from the last time that we flew a Pilatus was short flight
Washington,
to Asheville.
November 56 Echo Lima is with you 15,000 light chop.
Short flight to Asheville. That was
November 56 Echo Lima, Washington Center.
2 Christmases ago.
Chop. Richmond altimeter 3023. I'll have lower in about.
So today was a little bit longer. We had
3023 lower in 256 Echo Lima.
Hour and 45-minute flight up to Philadelphia International, and then an hour and 40 back to Charlotte. I don't know. What are your impressions of being in the flight levels this time? Smooth. Well, apart from the, just
Yeah, as soon as we start recording.
As soon as we start recording, we start getting choppy, but no, very smooth. And yeah, very comfortable indeed. Obviously the passengers in the back are very comfortable as well, but comfy, smooth ride up here at the flight levels. As I said, we're cruising at,
20,000 feet right now.
20,000 feet up.
We went up at 23,000, up to Philly at 3,000. I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
I'm going to request 18,000.
Okay.
Hey, Center Pilatus 598, Mike. Any chance for 180?
November 8, Mike. Descend and maintain flight level 180.
Descend and maintain 180, Mike. Thanks.
So we are going to descend down to 18,000 because it is, as you can probably see, choppy.
It was smooth until we started recording.
It was smooth until we
Wing
started.
904, descend and maintain flight level 220.
220 for Wing 94.
Well, what's your impressions of being in the flight levels?
Center Flex Jet 589.
A little bit different than the Cub flight we had.
Very much different than the Cub
589
flight.
Washington Center, climb maintain flight level 270. 270, Flex Jet 589.
It's more relaxed.
Very much more.
Very much more relaxed. It is interesting listening to the frequencies of all the other aircraft that are much bigger than us, Southwests and all the regional jets going about their business.
November 8, Mike, contact Washington Center, 124.05.
24058, Mike.
And obviously monitoring.
Center, good afternoon. Pilatus 598, Mike. 19.5 down to 180.
Pilatus 598, Mike, Washington Center.
Yeah, monitoring the frequencies to hear when they call 8 Mike.
Yep, this is a Pilatus PC-1245 owned by a private owner. I am just flying it for him, for his family, who came back from Europe, actually. So Carlos is getting to see the life of
full package
corporate pilot of flying up there, getting on time. The highlight of this one was Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
Philly cheesesteaks.
Mike, Cedar at Greensboro.
All right, second for 8, Mike.
November 598, Mike, Cedar at Greensboro, Golf Sierra Oscar.
Direct Greensboro, 8, Mike, thanks. All right, Greensboro, and we are nabbing.
Delta 2552, descend to maintain flight level 190.
Flight level 190,
That's
Delta
great.
2552.
That just took about 5 minutes off the trip. Yeah, Philly cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteak, awesome. Honestly, the best. We got
Washington Center, Wing 94, descending out of 22.8 for 220.
I mean, we got smalls.
Yeah.
And they're the size of a
Wing 904, Washington
armadillo.
Yeah. The flavour was fantastic. Honestly, the flavour was absolutely amazing. I can say I've had a Philly cheesesteak
From Philadelphia.
From Philadelphia.
Yeah. We purposely got up there with plenty of time to go to the FBO, get a crew card, and ask them for a recommendation of what was the best Philly cheesesteak within a 10-minute area.
Yeah.
So we went to Leo's. Award-winning Philly cheesesteak.
Award-winning Philly cheesesteak.
Good afternoon, Washington Center. It's Charlie Fox, Tango India Sierra.
But anyways, this is an aviation podcast.
It's an aviation podcast, not a food podcast.
Tango India Sierra, Washington Center.
No, I will say, for one thing, right, the PC-12 is not that, it's not that bad room-wise up the front here. It's fairly, I think it's fairly spacious as
it's actually pretty roomy.
Aircraft goes, you know.
Jazz 836,
and I think
descend to the Aldean 3
one thing I will say
landing
about
north, altimeter
the well-made-out
3017.
instrument panel.
Okay, we'll descend via the Alden 3017 on the meter and check landing north.
Yeah. So if you were a millionaire, well, multi-millionaire,
Jet 309er, contact Greensboro approach 124.35.
Yeah, I get a Pilatus. We were talking about that.
435, Edge 309, you have a great day.
We were parked on the ramp next door to Falcons and
a
the
couple
Phantoms.
beach jets, Phenom,
and
Citation 10.
They're all jets. They do look good. But the PC-12 just looks something else.
It's a good airplane.
Yeah.
That being said, tomorrow I'm jumping in the Hawker. So basically, what do we do? Monday,
Delta 2552, descend to the
Tuesday,
Aldean 3, arrival landing north,
Pilatus,
altimeter 3017.
Wednesday, Hawker.
3017, descend to the Alden 3 north, Delta 2552.
Trying to keep them all straight.
Terrible life. Awful. So yeah, that's us. We're here. And actually going to say a big thanks as well to all our...
You're on guard, check your freak.
all our viewers of the show, all our Patreon supporters of the show as well. And it's because of all you guys, all you listeners, that we love doing content like this for the show.
Well, and it's because of you guys that have made the show popular that, as Carlos was saying, he's gotten the opportunity to sit in the right seat of an airplane like this in the flight levels.
Are you there?
I wish I could give every single one of our listeners a ride in the Pilatus.
Right. I think Nev would love this.
Nev would love the back.
Nev would love the back. Yeah, the back of the PC-12. He'd love this.
Actually, it's roomier than a lot of the jets.
Yeah. Every seat is a C1A in here.
Yeah, that's true. We took the economy seats out. It's just all first class seats in the back.
Yeah. So that's it. We're up here. And we've got about, what have we got left to run?
39 minutes.
39 minutes left to destination.
Greensboro approach, Blue Streak 5377,
so, from a gorgeous PC-12 with
Washington Center, stand by
the best pilot in the whole of the US of A, if not the world.
I don't know about that.
Hey. Are you there? Thanks for watching. And we're going to hand things back to you guys in the studio.
Bye.
Bye.
I mean, the face says it all, doesn't it, really?
Oh,
grinning from ear to ear from the second he got in.
And he's dressed for the part as well, isn't he? You know, that's the other thing. It's not just turning up, but yeah.
Well, and we know how we like a nicely pressed shirt on the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If I was going to subcontract my ironing, I would drive the 136 miles to Bungay to get Carlos to do my ironing for me.
It is highly recommended. I can vouch for that. It's a nice crease is all we need, isn't it? And you are the master of that, Nev. Let's be honest.
Well, there we are. But
standards.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're in America, shall we stick there for my choice, Nev, if that's okay? Now, I got the most insane opportunity. Armando has been so generous with his time in so many ways to all of us on the show, but to me especially, the opportunity to go and spend a week with his wonderful family and doing some flying and getting some opportunities that I will never, ever forget. Many things sort of spring to mind, but the bit that I've chosen for this really was being in the cockpit with Armando walking me through the startup routine in the what is it? I've forgotten the name of the plane.
What? Oh,
it's the Hawker, isn't it? Is it
the Hawker?
Yes,
of course it is. Yes.
This is why I'm rubbish at this. Anyway, it was a very beautiful plane, and amazing things happened. Here's what took place.
Okay, hi everybody.
Hi.
We've got Matt here.
This is weird.
We're actually taking Matt up flying in the Hawker. This is a maintenance reposition flight. We're literally going to be a 15-minute flight to a service center. But Matt gets the full VIP treatment in the back.
I'm allowed to go to the bar, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So we're going to go through the pre-flight procedure. I'm going to be talking to you about it.
Yep.
So what I did right there was just check all the batteries before we start anything. I want to make sure that all the batteries are charged. And then right away, we are going to turn the battery on. Make sure that the gear handle is down. That is set. That is set. Parking brake, we will set. And we got 2 good lights. And then turn the beacon on. Left fuel pump to emergency. And that is pumping fuel.
Why is that? Why do you move it?
It's the only way that it pumps fuel from the left fuel tank to the APU.
Right.
And then the first thing we're going to do is start the APU. So we test it. Fire bell.
Okay.
That's if we had a fire in the APU, that's
noise.
what we would hear.
Yeah.
Make sure that's off. Make sure the bleed air is off. And then we start it. We yell, APU!
Oh wow! And we've got the gauges up here, like as it's coming up to speed. Yeah.
Yep. So that's its RPM.
Yep.
And exhaust gas temperature, and the generator load right there.
Okay. And the generator load, that's based on...
So it's 0 right now, and you're going to see it pop up as soon as it gets to full speed.
Get to speed, yeah.
It's going to go...
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Right, so now the generator is ready to load.
So it says DC load, but what is the... So is it like the voltage is a set voltage, and then that's fluctuating depending on demand?
Yep. Okay. So it's 28 volts DC, 300 amps that comes out of there. So now we've loaded the generator, and then what I did was close the bus tie, so that tied the electrical system from the front of the airplane to the APU.
Okay.
And now the APU is powering
everything,
all of this stuff, right?
I'm presuming you have to wait until everything's running at full speed before you... Yeah.
And then the other thing is I started a clock.
Yep.
And when that clock gets down to 0, we can use the bleed air. So right now we're just taking electricity from the APU. Okay. We're not taking any bleed air, any extra air.
And what's the bleed air for?
Bleed air, when we turn it on, is going to provide air conditioning to the airplane.
Right.
Yep. And that's the difference between the jets and the turboprops, is we have an APU, so we can cool the airplane down, we can heat the airplane up.
On board.
In an emergency, that can pressurize the airplane.
Wow, okay.
Right, so we can route the bleed air to different places. And it's literally just a little jet engine.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the APU on Hawker was, it came off of a DC-10 part number from back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Nerd alert.
Yep. So the other thing I did was started the inverters. Inverters take DC,
turn it into AC.
And turn it into AC. But we've got 3 inverters in this airplane, and we want to make sure that each inverter can take the load of all the other inverters. So I'm just checking 115 volts AC.
Yeah.
So they all work.
Yeah.
While I'm there, I'll turn the emergency lights to arm.
Okay.
The seatbelt signs are on, which I love. This one actually has like a...
Bing bong. Yeah.
But it's got a virtual flight attendant, because this used to be a charter airplane.
Oh, wow, okay.
So the co-pilot seat actually has selectable announcements, just like an airliner.
Oh, wow,
so
okay.
I can turn on the before takeoff announcement, the turbulence, the over water announcement.
Right turn to the
I'm going to turn the fuel pump off. We don't need it anymore.
Okay. Because it's now primed and it's
already
drawing its own. Yeah, yeah.
And then we're just going to turn the bleed air on, and you'll hear it. So now the AC is on.
Oh, there it goes, yeah.
Now we're using bleed air from the APU to cool the airplane down.
Okay.
All right. So we've got that. And then while we're up here, we're just going to go across the top, check all our lights and annunciators.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's on.
Yeah.
The only one that doesn't come on in this airplane, because it was an afterthought, is the baggage compartment fire light.
Yeah.
Which we test. There's 3 smoke detectors back there.
Ah, yeah.
All right, those are checked. Now we're going to check the stall system. So in this airplane, we have 3 stall computers.
Sorry, the pins that you've just removed there, what's that about?
Just gust locks for the wind.
Okay.
So it prevents the control surfaces from moving in the wind, or if an airplane taxis by.
Okay.
I'll turn the oxygen on while I'm here too. That is providing emergency oxygen to the crew and the passengers.
Yep.
All right, so we'll test. You ever heard of the shaker? We're always talking about the stick shaker.
Yeah.
This is it. It's a pretty big warning. All right, and there's my stall computer.
So what's the purpose of that?
This is, if you're getting close to a stall, this is the warning that it's going to give you.
Wow, okay.
So we don't have anything that says that goes like a small airplane.
Pull up.
Yeah. We do have that.
Oh, gee,
I'll hear that in a second. There's 3 different channels for the stick shaker. Yeah. Test the 3rd one, doesn't shake, but we'll see a stall item 3. And then if you don't do anything, the airplane will push, not to the ground, but it'll push the nose down so you don't stall.
Oh, wow.
So we test that system. Shaker. And you'll see it go.
Oh, wow.
See that? So
well, that's quite fierce.
I don't know if you can reach that, but you can feel how much force. Test the second one. Yeah, it pulls it out of your hand. It makes it pilot proof.
Yeah, right, yeah.
All right, and then we're going to test our engine fire. So we have 7 lights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a bell. Test engine.
I love how old school the bell is.
Engine 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a bell.
Yeah.
All right. Our air temperature overheat. We're testing that. That's good. And then there's an overheat light there. Ice detector.
Okay.
We think ice, ice, baby. So ice. And then there's an ice.
Yeah.
There's an ice detector outside the airplane that tells you, hey, I just detected ice. Turn your anti-ice on.
Okay.
All right.
And what does anti-ice do? I mean, I know that sounds like a stupid question.
It's exactly what it means.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
This is a wet wing.
So is it that heating element, or?
No, this airplane uses a fluid to coat the wings so ice doesn't build on it.
Oh wow, okay, so it's like spraying essentially.
Yeah. And then we've got, in the engines, we've got an overheat, a hot bleed air inlet so ice doesn't build up on the engine intake.
Okay.
This is a good one. If the cabin altitude comes too high, so pressurization, this is what we would hear, and I'm gonna test it, but then I'm gonna test the horn to cancel it. It's a pretty loud horn that tells us, hey. That horn tells you the cabin altitude is high, you need to do an emergency descent or put your masks on. Here's the noises that you were just talking about. We test all of those.
Light slope.
So that
pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up.
There she is.
Yep. So I went through all this test. We'll test our overspeed, our actual airspeed overspeed. That's a Mach, and that's a speed. Our angle of attack indicator, we want to make sure it works. Us military guys, we tend to fly angle of attack, which is a real-time measurement of the angle of the wing compared to its relative wind.
Okay.
And CellCal is a way for ATC to get hold of us when we're doing transatlantic.
Okay.
All right, so that we've tested
That's the panel, yeah.
Yep. Emergency lights are armed. Batteries are normal. Alternators are off. All of this is off.
Clear track 392. Departure station.
That's good. And then we'll test the autopilot.
Yeah, clear track 392.
So testing the autopilot. Now it's on. I can click it off. I can click it master off.
So I mean, forgive the question, like, because we often take the mickey out of Airbus pilots, where it's you press one button and it takes off, you press another one and it'll land.
No,
what does autopilot actually do in this environment?
It flies everything. It'll fly. This airplane does not have auto land. It doesn't have takeoff or anything like that. But 1,000 feet, we generally turn the autopilot on, and it'll fly laterally. It'll fly 3 dimensions, laterally and vertically. In this airplane.
So you've given it like coordinates and settings and all that kind of thing.
We'll put in a route and altitudes, and it will maintain.
It will maintain
all of that. Next thing we'll test is the trim system. You see, just like a Boeing.
Yeah.
Goes up, goes down. Co-pilots goes up, goes down.
Yeah.
That they cancel each other out. They do indeed. We'll test the individual switches, make sure it doesn't turn. All right. So that's all tested. We set it for takeoff right there. And while we're here, we will set the the command bars for takeoff. So it's 12 degrees nose up, 200 on the speed, and we want it to level off at 3,000 feet. And that will be the clearance that they're about to give us. All right, so we've checked all that. Now we just got to check our flight plan. See what our chief pilot planned for today. All right, so Charlotte to Greensboro, it's actually direct.
I hope so.
Direct at 9,000 feet.
Okay.
So I'll set the pressure for 9,000 feet, and then what I'll go do is go flight plan. This is probably the hardest part of transitioning to jets, is knowing how to work the box.
Okay.
mean, it was a very, very nerdy experience talking through all of the bells and whistles and buttons and firing up all the APUs and all that kind of thing.
It doesn't get a lot better than that, does it really? I mean, obviously, you would expect Armando's knowledge to be encyclopedic, as it always is. But because he's rated on so many different types of aircraft, it doesn't seem to matter which one he's operating. He seems to have the same knowledge of all the equipment, doesn't he? So very impressive indeed.
Can I just say that the flight was absolutely immaculate, and I'm so sorry I've forgotten the name of the guy who was sat next to him, obviously the pilot in charge, because Armando, believe it or not, was just he was just the lackey.
Oh, so you weren't the first officer on that occasion then?
No. I was sat in the back drinking champagne.
As you should be.
I mean, we were only in the air for 15 minutes, but it was the best glass of champagne I've ever had in my entire life.
But don't you think that bizjet flying is the way forward? I mean, isn't that just the perfect way to do any kind of flight?
Absolutely. I mean, some of it for me was because it is something that I'll probably never realistically get to do again in my lifetime. So to have that experience, albeit for a short repositioning flight for a bit of planned maintenance, but what an experience that, as I say, something I will never, ever forget. And one of the other things that was super memorable, because as you know, regulars to the show will know that that Armando has got this amazing new biplane that him and Megan are really excited about to sort of be flying and stuff. And it was still with the original owner while I was there. And we took a flight in his Cessna over there to take a look at it, and Armando was sort of tinkering for about 3 or 4 hours while I basically got to sleep because I was utterly exhausted. Which was lovely in its own right, I should say, to just have 3 hours to lie in the sun on the grass, because although it was October, it was still super warm and super like lovely. And then we were flying back into Charlotte, obviously, which is the home airport for Armando, which is literally not even a 10-minute drive from his house. So I mean, took about a perfect position for him to be able to do the day job without too much hassle. And we were sort of coming into land as the sun started to go down, and I'm not going to lie, Nev, and you know how much of a big deal flying and stuff is for me. It's not something I'm super comfortable with and all that kind of thing. And I'm sat in this beautiful Cessna aircraft that was not far off a bizjet in its own right, frankly. It was super comfortable, super spacious. I got these amazing Bose Bluetooth headphones on so that we could communicate with each other. And I was playing some music on my phone, and it was just on complete random. I mean, it was playing all sorts of weird stuff on my phone. There was Christmas songs on there that I was having to skip and all that kind of thing. And then just as we started to come into land, about 10 minutes before we came into land, this track, now you'll probably know it quite well, Nev, because it's very synonymous with, what's the word I'm looking for? The Remembrance Sunday, and I think it's from the Planet Suite, Nimrod. And that came on these amazing Bluetooth headphones that were in this particular plane, and I cranked it up really lovely and loud. And as we're coming into land with that track playing and a beautiful sunset out of the windscreen in front of me, and I think for the first time ever, Nev, I sat there and thought, do you know what? This flying lark is a bit special.
Yeah, no, what an emotional experience.
I got proper emotional, Nev.
I bet you did.
Yeah. It was really quite moving. But anyway, enough about me. That was an amazing experience, and I can't thank Armando enough for the opportunity that he gave me to go and do that. But it's not all about me. We've still got one host that we need to find out more about, Nev. And what was your choice for this year's review show?
Well, although we're sort of separated, as I said earlier, by some 130 or 40 miles, it's always difficult for us to get together. But the nice thing about going to Duxford, it's just about equidistant between our two houses, really, isn't it? So we try and go there as often as we can. And during 2023, we went to the Battle of Britain air show there, which was held over a couple of days. We got some great interviews there. But what I quite like about interviewing some of the pilots there is that you're dealing with people that are operating, commercial jets, or they've just recently retired from the airlines, and they're now operating these, in some cases quite old aircraft. And one of the ones that I particularly liked was the Catalina interview that Carlos did with Phil. So let's go over to Carlos now at Duxford.
So here, standing next to, I think one of the aircraft that many of our listeners have got a very, very big interest in, the PBY Catalina. I'm here with Phil. How are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So what's your? I know you've been with the team here for a short amount of time, but what's your role here?
I'm one of the co-owners of the airplane. It's operated as a group-owned aircraft, just the same as many single-engine, four-seat airplanes around the country. And so I'm one of the co-owners, and I've just recently qualified to fly the airplane as well.
Oh wow, that's what an achievement! Absolutely fantastic. How was that?
Oh, it was amazing. I did my training in July, 2 sessions first, one day, lovely. Did my test the next day, chucking it down with rain, cloudy, windy, bit of a challenge, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
So I suppose the question is, when you're going from something obviously like training aircraft such as a 150 or a PA-28, what is this like to fly, the Catalina?
It's harder because it's bigger, there's no powered controls, so it's all manual cables and rods from what we have up in the cockpit to the control surface on the wings and the tail. And so it's a heavy airplane, it's heavier forces required, so you don't need to go to the gym or anything like that, just come and fly the Catalina.
It really is that tough pulling on those controls.
Not too bad, to be honest, Sailor on the elevator. The rudder, it's not particularly hard, but you need an awful lot of rudder. Most powered pilots don't use the rudder. Glider pilots do. This is a mixture of both. You really need lots of rudder to fly this airplane properly.
So tell us a bit about, for those listeners who might not know about the aircraft that we are standing next to here.
Okay, so as you introduced it, the PBY 5A Catalina, to be honest, that's a bit of a cover. Technically, this is a Canso because it was built by Canadian Vickers for the Canadian Air Force. And for some reason that I don't know yet, they choose to call their airplanes Cansos. But everybody knows it as the Catalina. 80 years old this year. This airplane was built in 1943, served with the Canadian Air Force, Maritime Patrol in the war. It's been through various owners in its lifetime. Firefighting at one point, somebody bought it, converted it with the big blisters, which is where in the wartime the gunners were, to go safaris and charters. That in the end I believe didn't happen. They converted the airplane, then the company folded. And then it's been with the Catalina group now for about 20 years or so, doing the airshow circuit, trying to earn its living.
I was going to say, everything you do is funded by donations with the aircraft?
Not quite. So the owners pay a monthly contribution towards the running costs, and then we try and get the airplane to earn its living, doing air shows, selling merchandising, supporters and things like that. Most years I'm told it's pretty much break even. I say I'm fairly new to the group, and this year it's unlikely to be a good one because we were delayed. Winter maintenance ran on a little bit longer, so we missed some air shows at the beginning part of the season. But onwards and upwards, next year will be better.
So a bit about yourself. Where did the sort of flying start with you?
Where did the flying start with me? I don't remember, but I'm told the first time I went flying I was 6 weeks old, so that might have something to do with it. Always been interested in aviation all my life. I've been an air traffic controller for about 10 years and then commercial pilot for close to 35, and I retired last year.
Wow. Can I ask what you flew with commercially?
So the last airplane I flew was British Aerospace 146. Before that, 777, 747, 737, Avro RJ, which was the updated version of the 146, ATRs and shorts 360.
So a varied going to this is quite...
Well, they're all the same. You pull back, it goes up. You push forward, it goes down.
So the obviously you learned to fly. You got your PPL and all that kind of thing back in the day.
Too long ago to remember.
When you learned to fly the aircraft we're standing next to here, is there a lot of training involved with that, or is it quite a nice transition from kind of GA?
Depends on the individual's experience, really. As I say, I did 2 training flights and then the test. Somebody with less experience probably would have more training before going up for the test. To fly the airplane, obviously you need multi-rating, but there is PPL holders in the group. Not everybody's commercial rated, but if you're just a PPL, you need a multi-rating to fly it as well, which gives some experience in twin engine. The airplane itself, because of its size, is a specific type rating for the pilot, and training will be given.
We're here at Duxford. Obviously, we've got a nice long runway here, but what kind of airfields would you say are the best and the kind of worst in the UK to try and get into with the Catalina?
Again, a relative newcomer to the group, so I haven't done much with it yet, but it goes to short strips. It's been into Old Warden. Roughly speaking, 800 metres on grass is acceptable.
And the future, what does that hold for you here and obviously the Catalina?
Hopefully, as long as possible. Engineering wise, there's no reason that the airplane can't keep flying. Personally, as long as I can keep passing the medicals and the checks, because we have to revalidate our type rating every year, and then just keep flying it as long as possible.
So for younger listeners then who might be watching, who think that they would love to perhaps at some point get a chance to possibly fly the Catalina, and that's a difficult one, but what sort of advice would you give any young people who may be watching who might be thinking about learning to fly?
It is quite a challenge, just having belief in yourself and following it through, but the advice would be go for it if it's what you really want to do. It's a bit involved to fly commercially. We haven't really got time to go into it now, so find somebody at your local flying club that can talk to you about it. Just get involved and follow your dream.
Now, one last question before we finish. It's a question we ask all our pilots and everyone we interview on the show. Kind of put you on the spot question. Given a chance to fly any aircraft, be it commercial, military, GA, retired, still flying, in the museum here at Duxford, what would you love to go out on the field now and fly right now? You can choose 2 if you like.
You have put me on the spot. I'd like to fly anything, but let's say the Anson or the Lysander.
And so that's an answer we've not had before on the show.
Well, it's only because they're over there and I can see them. Anything.
Anything. Well, thanks for your time today. It's been great to speak to you.
Nice
and
to meet you.
Obviously, it's great to see this aircraft flying, and we appreciate you guys and girls for all the effort you put into keeping this flying, especially for the air shows and for the younger people who are watching it here today.
Well, and that's why we do it. It's nice to talk to the crowd and chat with them and answer the same sort of questions you've been answering. Just share the experience with as many people as we can.
Well, all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
And I hope you have a great day here at Duxford.
Thank you very much.
Flying. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Now, I know that the Catalina has a very special place in many people's heart, and I know you were very, very fond of it, Nev, obviously, especially getting the opportunity to speak to some of the pilots, and you had a good nose round the aircraft while you were there.
Definitely. And, of course, Micah's favourite aircraft is the PBY Catalina, so this one's for you as well, Micah, so I hope you enjoyed seeing that again. But so no, it's really great to talk to some of the pilots there, and of course we had great access as well, thanks to the press office there and the press teams that assisted us with that, because it's still very well turning up at these air shows, but unless you're actually invited or have the opportunity to talk to the right people, you don't get any footage really. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. So
actually, speaking of incredible access, by the way, there was another very special interview that we did while we were over there, and some elements of it we weren't allowed to show, were we? Because it was amazing, amazing thing for you and Carlos to experience, but we weren't allowed to share with listeners, which sort of broke our heart a bit, really. But of course, that was the Sally B. You got to have a good nose around that.
We did, yeah. We had a great interview with the chief pilot of the display team and the owner of Sally B as well. the Dutch owner. So it was absolutely fantastic. So to actually have the opportunity to go on board the aircraft, I think it blew Carlos's mind, to be honest with you, and his reaction when we came out of there was just amazing. So again, just all those sorts of things, and being part of the podcast has enabled us to do things that, frankly, money can't buy in many cases, and I really enjoy that sort of thing. And in the same way, we had the opportunity just a couple of weeks ago. I took some of my colleagues from where I work up the Heathrow Tower, courtesy of Adam again, and that was amazing. Because although it's going to sound slightly odd, I know I've been up there I think 4 times now, but of course none of my colleagues ever had, and it was just mind-blowing for them. So being part of the aviation community has given us incredible access to things, and I'm just so grateful that people have been able to set these sort of things up for us.
Well, and it's people like Adam who are so generous with their time as well, aren't they? Because I mean, Adam, I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn when I say it, because he's not paid when he's doing these things. He's doing it in his own time because he loves aviation and he loves sharing this. I mean, it really is just because you and I have perhaps been a couple of times more than most people, because we've been lucky enough to sort of take sort of friends and family and to it. It really is like a once in a lifetime type opportunity normally, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course he came in on his day off. He came in on Sunday. He wasn't even working a shift that day, so he came in specially just to host all of us, which was just marvellous. Absolutely fantastic.
It is. So that is pretty much 2023, the highlights for us. Now, I'm quite excited about what we've got in the calendar for next year, Nev, because in fact, before we started recording this, we were planning what we're doing sort of end of February.
Yes, we've been speaking to a number of people about other things that we can do this coming year. And there is a very good event in Dublin, which is on the 1st and 2nd of March, 2024. And it's the Drone Summit and Conference. So all of us are going to be there covering the event, and hopefully we'll get some nice interviews. We've been talking to the press teams there as well. And we are, in fact, one of their media partners. So that's really good news indeed. So I'm looking forward to that, especially because the subject of drones is not one that I know much about at all, I have to say. So Matt, I'm glad that you're coming with me, because you've actually got some experience of the thing itself.
I've even done the test so that I could fly it.
How about that? Now, also, we're joined as well on that occasion by Matt from the A320 podcast. He's going to come over as well, because he's going to be doing some stuff about drones later on in the year, I think, from his point of view. So it'll be absolutely fascinating to see where the technology has gone, and to interview some of the people, and also where it's going next, because we do hear lots about drone deliveries of Amazon and DHL and UPS coming right to your front door. It'll be interesting to see where that technology is and how realistic it is at the moment.
Indeed. Unfortunately, that's the only thing that we can sort of talk about at the moment. Lots of irons in the fire. And of course, we've got a certain 500th just around the corner as well.
Yes.
Still sworn to secrecy on that one. But it's been an amazing year, Nev. Thank you for me personally, Nev. Thank you so much for all the hard work you've done as well, because obviously you've been out with your camera putting together all these amazing interviews so that we can share it with the group, as it were. It's looking forward to retirement for no other reason that we can do more of it, I think, yes. To be fair, yeah.
Well, I've got another year to go at the company I'm working at, but that will go very quickly, I'm sure, and it'll give me more time to do some more long-form interviews and some of the things that we haven't been able to do as much of, those big sort of 7 or 8 part series of interviews with airline crew. One thing to remember, though, for this coming year, 2024, is that we are changing our broadcast date of the show. We've taken a lot of sort of feedback from listeners and viewers, and just talking amongst the team. We're actually going to be changing the day to the Wednesday night. So we're going to be doing the show at 7 o'clock Wednesday UK time from the 10th of January onwards. So that will be our first live show of 2024. So that means, I think, that a few more people can join us live, hopefully, because people's Fridays are quite fairly booked. And to be honest with you, with all of us still working at the end of the week, we're a bit tired as well when we get to Friday. So actually,
we're a bit pooped by then, aren't we,
we'll
Nev?
be a bit fresher on a Wednesday night, hopefully, as well. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Indeed, absolutely. So the live show will be recorded, like it always is on YouTube. So it will be live, and you can come and join us in the chat, the live YouTube chat room there, and then it will be released as a podcast on the Friday. That is how it's going to work going forward. So yeah, lots of changes this year, lots of things to look forward to in 2024, and I'm looking forward to it, Nev.
Yes, me too. And in the meantime, I hope everybody has a very happy new year. And it's always a bit of a reset, isn't it, when you come to a new year to do things that I should be doing, like losing some weight and things like that, and not drinking quite so much, and all those things that I promised to do at the start of 2023, but didn't quite manage to do.
I can neither confirm or deny any of those accusations. Always a pleasure, Nev. Thanks for keeping me company. And from all of the team, we'll say a very happy new year to you all. Say goodbye, Nev.
Yes, happy new year to everybody. Bye for now.